Dragonborn, I finally found you. Yes, Dragonborn. I understand you are still salty from that time I called you a simp. Well, maybe if we go over the Chads of Skyrim, it might improve your simp behavior. No, you are not allowed to ask me to marry you again. Ever. Let me just start. Let us begin with Yarl Balgruuf. Sure, he has some issues with his family, and Arlith is always on his case because he risks his safety. But let me tell you, Dragonborn, this man is indeed a Chad. First of all, instead of dismissing you, he believes that there are dragons and that they are a bigger threat than the pesky civil squabble that Skyrim is having. Even before you give him Ulfric Stormcloak's axe, he reminds you that you have more pressing issues in regard to the dragon crisis. Before Ulfric's call to war, Yarl Balgruuf takes a neutral stand in the civil war, saying that he serves the people of Whiterun rather than any of the sides. Look, I am not taking sides in the civil war, but when the time came, he refused to listen to Ulfric's blackmail and stuck to the Empire not because he believed in the cause of the Empire, but because he thought it was in the best interest of his people to remain in the Empire. For better or for worse, he stood his ground until the very end. Therefore, you can stand to learn a lot more from Balgruuf, Degenerate-born. He is a 10 out of 10 on the Chad scale. The next Chad on the list is General Tullius. No, Dragonborn, I know how this sounds, but I swear I am not an Empire sympathizer. Hear me out in regards to Tullius. The man was fighting the Civil War and coordinating with Legate Ricca only to keep up appearances with the Thalmor. He doesn't really object to Talos worship. He saw the bigger picture and is playing it smart, biding his time, taking note of all their transgressions for when the Empire finally stands on top of them. No need for pointless struggle when the Thalmor are digging their own grave with shovels made of their own ego. He is a 7 out of 10 on the Chad scale. So, if we mention Tullius, I need to remain impartial, and also add Ulfric Stormcloak into the Chad category. Let's start with the positives. He's a strong leader who gained the loyalty of half of Skyrim, and he made big moves, challenging the previous High King and defeating him in combat. He got half of the country to support him, for better or for worse. That's pretty Chad-worthy stuff. But I have some issues with his plan to make Skyrim independent. He's not considering how this might weaken humanity as a whole against the Thalmor. That makes me think maybe he's more of a knucklehead than a Chad. Still, he's definitely not a simp. Perhaps just like the Redguards, the Nords have what it takes to kick the Thalmor out of Tamriel for good. 5 out of 10 on the Chad scale. Not bad for a loudmouth Nord who only knows how to shout and smash things. Mentioning the Reach reminds me of yet another Chad. Madaneck, the King in Rags, leader of the Forsworn Rebellion, and former king of the Reach, or at least for as long as their occupation lasted until Ulfric got there. The guy is very similar to Ulfric in that he wants the Reach for his people since they were their original inhabitants. Don't get me wrong, those Forsworn are disgusting. They smell, wear unclean pelts, and share mammoth hair toothbrushes. But then again, he wasn't even killed, he was imprisoned, and what did he do? He became the boss from within the prison and had the Silverbloods working for him on the outside. He is definitely an 8 out of 10 Chad, minus 2 points for being a Forsworn. Next comes Belathor, a Breton pawnbroker, and also the owner of Belathor's General Goods in Whiterun. He buys and sells virtually anything he can see like a true merchant. If he had a sister, he'd sell her too without a second thought. Or even buy your relatives. Dubious ethics, but truly a one-man conglomerate. 5 out of 10 on the Chad scale. Then we have Ancano. Yes, I know, I hate those egocentric lemon-skinned pests too, but this one does deserve his due credit. The guy basically waltzed into Winterhold not giving any regard to examinations or permissions. He is, in fact, more powerful a mage than most others there anyway, so they can't do much about it. He walks around as if he owns the place while blatantly and openly making Thalmor propaganda, and all the other mages do is speak behind his back and spread rumors that simply fly over his head. Poor little powerless haters. 5 out of 10 on the Chad scale, minus 5 points for being a self-righteous Thalmor. And of course, Ancano couldn't go against Savos Aren without the help of ancient magical relic. He automatically is categorized as a Chad for the fact that he is a Dunmer, and Dunmer due to being greyskins resemble Giga Chad the most, but also because he is the Archmage of the college, fended off the disaster that hit Winterhold, the Great Collapse, probably mostly by himself, seeing how lackluster all the other mages in there are, and is powerful enough to, even after being killed, reappear as a specter to aid you in clearing Labyrinthian. Not many can boast of such an achievement. It does put in question if that is due to his raw magic power or if he self-necromanced his own soul. 9 out of 10 on the Chad scale because he allowed himself to be Dumbledored. The Khajiit named J'zargo is quite the remarkable individual. Despite whatever obstacles or disadvantages he faces, he remains confident and proud. He is never one to shy away from a challenge or to wallow in self-pity. His self-esteem and faith in his abilities remain steadfast, regardless of the situation. In fact, he views every challenge as an opportunity to prove his worth and show the world just how remarkable he is. A true Chad indeed. 10 out of 10 on the Chad scale. Yes, I understand Lord Dagoth will not approve, but I don't need anyone's approval.
Is this how you honor the 6th house and the tribe unmourned, you vampire Enoir? I urge you to subscribe to my sermons, raise your thumbs and write on the parchment down below. J'zargo is a farm tool.
But we cannot talk about the Khajiit and leave Maik the Liar out now, can we? This famous cat is well known for his comments on all 3 games, Oblivion, Morrowind, and Skyrim. He will tell you about facts, dubious facts, lies, and blatant fantasies as if they were all real. He will lie to you with a straight face and feel like an erudite without giving a fig about it. He even breaks that damned 4th wall from time to time and remains unaffected by any divine repercussion, almost as if he was a god himself. But then again, Akatosh is so pitiful I wouldn't wonder even a Khajiit has more power than him. 10 out of 10 on the Chad scale. Now for the end, the man, the Nord, the legend, Ysgramor, the harbinger of us all, ancient king of the Atmarans and the first ruler of Skyrim. Those are a lot of achievements, I admit. Surely what drove him to this point was fleeing from the tyrannical rule of the dragon cult, yes, but he had to populate the frigid landscape that is Skyrim when there was nothing there other than ice and beasts. They were, however, defeated in what elven scholars dubbed the Night of Tears, in a sad and sorry attempt to taunt the now fleeing Nords. But Ysgramor returned from Atmora with the 500 companions, and proceeded with the swift and violent relocation of the Falmer, who powerlessly bent under the might of their muscles. Oh, but he was no brute. He was very cultured, actually, and was the first known human to transcribe Nordic speech using elven principles of writing, along with being a natural historian. He recorded everything, from creatures to history, and even after his death, he keeps an eye over the Nords from Sovngarde, where he still is the king of all Nords. Also a 10 out of 10 on the Chad scale. What do you mean I'm being generous? I am a Nord, and this is Ysgramor. The list has really ended there, but allow me to make a special mention. Mr. Ebony Warrior, a curiously unknown but immensely powerful character that only appears after you have reached a very high-level Dragonborn. You should not underestimate him, as he would have probably defeated Alduin, Miraak, and the Volkihar clan with his eyes closed and one arm tied to his back. Where was he during these events? No one knows, but all he wants is to be killed to be sent to Sovngarde. A warrior looking for a warrior's death. All right. He gets 9 out of 10 because I think him going to Sovngarde is a far-fetched idea. And so the sermon ends, Dragonborn. Oh, so you want to earn the title of Chad? Well, if you want to do so, please subscribe to my teachings. I feel like I have much more to say than some shirtless, muscular Dunmer. What is your obsession with listening to shirtless, muscular men in Myr, Dragonborn? I'd like to thank my patrons and channel members, the real Chads. Connor Runda, Tonya Davis, unoriginal username, Janelle Rambo, Silky Johnson, and Vadim C.